You know, he's spinning in space over there. I don't know where he is. No, you can keep it on. I was just giving you a hard time. All right. Well, I trust everybody had a good holiday and a good last week. And we are back at it. Let's jump in before we get into the serious stuff. Is Mary Kenyon on this call? She may be late getting on. She has a shot at winning the Inspire Network March Madness. She's got Yukon here. I think there's a couple people, and that's it, that still have people in play. So I was going to give her a shout out, but if you see her, say something. All right. Broward County single family, 748 in the active status changes. So holiday week certainly always disrupts numbers, the flow of numbers. So I'm expecting that a little bit. But we just came out of end of month closings. So we do have 202 that went under contract in the last 7 days. Broward County single family still strong. 151 pending, which I'm not shocked that it's come down because a lot of those properties came off the market and closed. So there was 265 closings in the last 7 days. Um, I don't know. Let's keep looking. Broward County condos, 952 active status. We had 119 go under contract and 111 go pending, which is a little bit down from the week before. 216 closed out with that, if I'm not mistaken, was the largest closing week year to date for Broward County condos. 357 expired in the last 7 days. That's a big, big number. Um, if I go down to Miami-Dade, single family, 631 active status changes, 140 went under contract and 198 went pending, which is still very strong. Uh, I'm almost shocked at how strong some of these under contract numbers are, depending on because of the holiday disruption, if you will. But 212 closed out in the last 7 days, down from the previous 2 weeks. And then if I look at condos, we had 835 active status, 95 under contract, 138 go pending, and 168 closed out. So Broward County condos had their biggest closing week of the year. Miami-Dade did not, but they had two big weeks prior. 282 expired. Palm Beach, we had 805 active status changes, which is very healthy. 237 went under contract. 106 went pending, which looks like we had an increase from the week before in Palm Beach. And 330 closed out, which I'm certain is the largest closing week for single family in Palm Beach year to date, with 138 expired. In Palm Beach condos, 719 active status, 117 went under contract, 82 pending, which is held kind of similar to the week before, maybe a little 10 off. 189 closings and 218 expired. So I feel like, and I'm going to throw this out and get y'all's opinion. A lot of listings were written to expire March 31st. I think that the coming out the gate, there's a lot of agents still taking 90-day listings, or maybe they listed them October 1st and listed them on a 6 month plan to expire March 31st. But there was a wave of expired hit the market in the last 7 days. What do you see in the numbers, Richard Bass?
Man, Palm Beach and Dade County single-family homes seem to be holding their own.
Yeah.
Broward County is the one that had a bigger pullback this week than the other two counties did. wondering out loud about it, is that just the continued strength of the net immigration businesses coming into our state? Read an interesting article in Florida Magazine this morning interviewing the top 100 CEOs in the state, and they all feel that Florida has a very strong, very positive future. And most of that growth is coming down to the Southeast area. So is this where we're seeing it? The money's coming into Palm Beach County, businesses are coming into Dade County. Um, my other thought with these numbers, Brett, is as I had said last week, I think this is um, the incursion in Iran and the increase in prices and gas in particular weighing on people, and you're seeing buyers back away from the market a little bit right now.
I want to fact check that when we get to another article here, but I would, on the surface, agree with you.
Yeah.
What are y'all feeling? What are you seeing in the marketplace?
Real quick to just piggyback on Richard, I just heard this morning that
Yeah,
more
I've
ships
been
were
hearing the same thing with the war and stuff. A lot of buyers are like backing out a little bit, are being hesitant because they don't know what's gonna go on. Um that's about it.
Okay.
And they don't know
Thanks,
what
Laurent.
interest rate as well.
So I've also, I don't know, there's been a lot of talk in Broward County about a lot of school closures and smaller population growth with young children in our area. I don't know if you guys are experiencing the same in the Palm Beach area, but I know that's been a lot of talk, and it's been really below the radar for real estate people to be paying attention to. But I think that has a lot to do with people deciding where they're moving as far as quality of life and knowing that schools are being closed. Um, I think that's an indicator that we haven't paid attention to in Broward County that we need to look at.
Okay. Like the demographic of the home buyer and the homeowner is changing, is what you're saying, Nadine, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Steve, you were going to say something.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Just piggybacking on what Richard said, there's talk recently, the last day or two, that more and more ships are getting through the strait and gas prices are actually starting to decline a little bit.
Yeah.
So
I think we can look at that here in a sec, for sure, for sure. And there was a little relief on mortgage rates. So when I pulled it this morning, this obviously, you got to understand, this is the published rate from Friday at 4 o'clock. So at Friday at 4 o'clock, it was 6.45. Remember, there's a magic number at 6.64 that drastically psychologically affects demand. So we're still below that number. Um, but anyway, let's jump to that since y'all want to talk about it. So the housing market, let me get back to the top here. How is the housing market weathering wartime economics? The higher interest rates have taken a small bite out of the housing demand recently. Weekly pending sales slipped to 70,000 from 72 a year ago. As mortgage rates have risen, total pending sales remained higher while purchase apps slowed 1% year over year. Um, yes, gas prices were skyrocketing. And it's also pushed mortgage rates higher over the last 5 weeks. We know that we got almost prematurely excited that we got 5.99 and then it changed, right? Like to a high, we're seeing 6.64, which is that magic number, but today we're below that. And they've fallen recently. And is it affecting demand? That's the big question, right? In the past, mortgage rates above 7% would have dampened the demand, but we still haven't broken above 6.64 in 2026. Let's look at these markets. So this first graph is U.S. single family home. This does not include condo. The dark line is pending home sales in 2026. So we technically are still trending ahead of the last 2 years in pending home sales. You can see, if you can see my pointer here,
Mhm.
did taper the last couple weeks, but we're still ahead in pending home sales for single family nationally of what we were the last 2 years. So I see that as a positive. One, if you go down to this next graph, this is all home sales, which includes condos. It's the same story. I'll get my pointer out of the way. We are trending ahead of pending home sales in 2026 than we were the last 2 years, in spite of wartime. And I feel a little encouraged by that, in spite of everything going on globally right now, is we still are ahead of what the last 2 years were. If you just look at this metric. Now, I realize real estate's a local game. We would need to track this on a local level to feel more confident in our market. But right now, pending home sales are tracking ahead of 25 and 26. The other thing on here, if you look, mortgage purchase applications, which is that early indicator, we were way ahead of 2025. But ironically, the lines are at the same position today that they were last year. So was last April 1st good, bad, neutral? It was probably, I would give it a neutral. So we're not worse than we were last year, but we're pretty even currently with where we were last year. If this continues, we'll probably dip below in mortgage applications, I would think. What do y'all
Yeah,
see?
it's not that we're looking at doom and gloom on this, Brett.
Yeah.
I think we're holding our own, and we should get the quarterly stats from Chartmaster in the next week or so, and I think that's going to play out with what you're just talking about. Overall, we're still ahead of last year, and it's going to depend on the next couple of weeks as to what happens, whether things turn back around again or we just continue holding our own.
Yeah. I think there's political motivation to end the war sooner than later. I don't know that that will happen. I don't want to get into the details of opinions here, but I do know that that would benefit the real estate industry. I think if something were to end sooner than later, our rates come down, gas prices come down. It'll take a while to flush out, and it might give us a second surge of home sales in 2026. Any other thoughts? Rick, you haven't said a word.
Just analyzing the high level of intelligence on this call. I see. I feel like I say the same thing often, and I'm resisting saying it's a local service business game and it's all about, one or two extra clients a month and your entire world changes. And it's just, I look at this and go, so what, now what? And then, but truth be told, this is incredibly valuable. The spike in mortgage applications clearly correlated to that dip in rates.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean they were all qualified. These are just applications. It does astound me that the data year over year is so correlated and aligned month over month, a few 100,000, and they're still neck and neck. So it also tells me that, to your point a minute ago, in spite of the narrative in the media, consumers are still active and engaged relative to the prior 2 years. And if you did well, you should continue to do well. And if you're not, then it's a local opportunity to engage differently.
Yep. All right. Any other thoughts or questions? All right. Moving on. Another economic factor that's big for the real estate market is this job report. And it's been hot and cold, and right now it's warm, meaning uh, the job report actually went up, and non-farm payrolls, which I think is interesting that they exclude farm, um, rose in the last report, which has kept unemployment at 4.3. Now, context. 6% the magic number for unemployment. As long as we're below 6%, the government believes that we are in a stable employment market, right? Like if we get closer to 6%, the government will start to get nervous and start to make changes. Um, but at 4.3%, it's probably historically normal. We did get down to about 3.5% unemployment at one point in time, but 4.3 is a historically normal number. But it keeps saying the Fed stays cautious, which just tells me they're watching it like a hawk right now. And if they were to feel like the unemployment was going to get out of control or the job economy was going to get worse, they might make some fiscal changes, which would translate to prime rate cuts, things like that. But um, overall, in spite of what we're watching on the news at 5, 6 o'clock every night, there are some good things going on with like pending home sales are holding their own right now. Employment is holding its own and actually grew a little bit. Unemployment's holding steady at the moment. So all those factors translate to the real estate market and give us a climate that allows us to go make money and do very well. Any comments from the peanut gallery there? All right, can I make fun of this for a second? So if you remember, we were talking a couple weeks back about the predictions, and I said I don't know what NAR was thinking when they came out and said there was going to be a 14% jump in sales in 2026, and now they're already pulling it back. They're saying they thought home sales would spike this year. Not anymore, thanks to volatile mortgage rates. Although what's not said in this is there's still an expectation that we're going to sell more homes in 2026 than we did in 2025, just not 14%. And I don't know. What do you, Richard? I just laughed when I saw this.
Yeah, and I watched some of the video that Lawrence Yun put out in walking this back, and that's exactly what he did. He walked back a ridiculous projection. That 14%, if I recall, was about 3 times what anybody else was forecasting for this year.
Yeah. Do we
So,
know what he's projecting now? Because I don't trust it.
It basically
I
said
don't
they're
recall
working
that
on
he
it.
actually came up with a new number. He just said we're not going to see as high a spike as what we originally projected.
Yeah.
Well,
He waved a white flag and said they were crunching.
all right, we'll leave it there. All right, let's move on. I want to get into this conversation real quick. So, home search is going AI first with Realtor.com as attention gets harder to earn. Here's what I'm reading between the lines in this article. Um, the homeowner, let me find the headline. It says how platforms are adapting to where buyers go first and what actually stops the scroll. The way people find things and decide what matters is starting to shift in a pretty noticeable way. Early discovery is happening in places it didn't before, not on a listing site or even a brand's page, but inside a question someone typed into a chat bot. At the same time, attention's getting harder to earn unless something actually feels worth stopping for. Platforms are adjusting to both. So, look, the Zillow's, the realtor.coms, the maybe even the homes.com, potentially Redfin, they're adapting extremely fast to an AI world. And I think they're going to take a lot of market share if we don't play the same game on the ground level, if that makes sense. Because they certainly have deeper pockets to do this adaptation, but you better pay attention if Realtor.com, Zillow are positioning and spending a lot of resources to figure out how to generate real estate leads and traffic through AI. You don't want to be left on the sidelines of that race. Does that make sense? Um, I believe that we can play this race. I think YouTube is a part of it. I think certain review sites, certain they call it GEO, is certainly a part of how playing this race as a real estate professional. But I'm not threatened by the aggregators, but I'm watching them get really smart and get really positioned with real estate lead generation inside the AI world. Thoughts?
I mean, I'm kind of the oldest guy probably on the call or one of, but I remember when the internet became a thing, there was rumbling about how the internet was going to steal our clients and that and to some degree there has been disruption to say the least, because if whoever has the most meaningful conversation at the right time wins. And we watched what we saw, and what I think still exists is a intelligent people are curious, but they're also scrutinizing the validity of the source. And where AI has a slight advantage is it has this potential to look neutral and to look, sort of an emotional energy or humanized feedback. I find myself on chat buying most of what it tells me. And I think that's a dangerous place. And I think most people are starting to catch on. At some point, these people who are building $60 billion systems are going to need to monetize a return, which means you're going to be advertised and sold something or potentially steered in a direction. So here's what I think and believe is that AI cannot pick up a phone and be you and call someone that knows you, trusts you, and respects you above all of the data noise. And at some point, there still is so much data out there. How do you discern fact from fiction and motivation and motive? And that's where you, as an advocate for the human experience, reign supreme. But if you don't pick up the phone, your clients run the risk of potentially being misguided because of uncertainty or maybe just naivete around the source. Our jobs are more important than ever. That's what I want you to hear. That's what I just should have said. But
Yep. And I'm 100% on board with you with that one, Rick. This is a relationship-based business. And it might be this article, later on in the article, there were actually comments that certain generations are becoming or starting to question the validity of everything they're getting online. They use it for the data, they're using it for information, but they're not trusting everything that comes out of the internet right now. There's so much altered news. I don't want to use the word fake news, but the deep fakes that are out there. The MLSs are now looking at you've got to tag your listings if they're AI enhanced photographs. So people want to talk to you as the agent. They're still looking at you as the expert to help them understand all of this information.
they need to understand
And
the
by the way,
pitfalls.
Rick, you're not even close to the oldest on the call.
Only because I shaved my gray beard. I lost 10 years overnight.
All right, somebody else, I
Thank
want
you
to
for
hear your thoughts on this.
Hey, this is Sean. This AI thing is probably the most exciting and daunting thing going on in our world today. And it is a relationship business. I don't disagree with any of that. The problem is it's pretty easy to get out relationshiped by AI right now. if you're not on your game. And I think agents who I've said for a long time that the relationship you think you have with your clients is not as good as the relationship your clients think they have with you. And cell phones are probably the biggest reason why our country is so divided, because everybody has something in their hand that tells them they're right. It tells them their beliefs are right, because whatever they believe, that's what their news feed shows. And they're surrounded by backup singers that do nothing but back up what they believe. And ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and all that, it's kind of even a larger extension of that backup singer mentality. And Brett, I just texted you a screenshot. I've got a client who's going on a $5 million listing here in Atlanta. She got a text from somebody and she said, "Oh, by the way, I didn't ask who do I need to thank for sending you my way?" And the response was, "Nobody. I was searching on ChatGPT and I asked for the best person for a high net worth individual listing in this area of Atlanta." And that's how she called her, and that's how she's going on a listing appointment. And and there's that's a 6-figure commission attached to being found on ChatGPT and having zero relationship with somebody. So
Yeah.
I think we need to make sure that our agents are understanding of the urgency of relationship that exists for them, and the opportunities and the downfalls that exist if they don't do it well. And you've got to fight like hell to have whatever you think your relationship is good. You need to be asking, how do I make it unbelievably fantastic? Because that's the only way you're going to compete with AI. And anybody who's not embracing AI, just from the standpoint of trying to learn it and know where it's going, we're just in the first inning of a 15-inning ball game, and it's only going to speed up from here. But you got to get on the train and you got to figure out how to stay ahead of it, because you can. But if you don't, you're going to be in trouble.
What I hear Sean saying is it's time to play offense, not defense, and hope and wait.
Bingo.
There you go. Any other thoughts, guys?
Hey, Brett. I think
Yeah.
another thing that, for me at least, there's so many different AI tools that I keep seeing going around that I don't know what might be useful and what might not be useful. Claude, ChatGPT, I feel like I'm even getting bombarded with advertisements for so many different types of AI programs that I don't even know where to start sometimes when it comes to leveraging AI, that I just get even overwhelmed, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to do what's been working so far, or the basics, then even start getting into it. I don't know if anyone has any specific programs that they've actually had success with, what they're
Well, I
leveraging
would tell
AI with.
I'll tell you,
Mark,
Mark, what I'm hearing is if you're going to play the majority game is ChatGPT and Gemini. And the future is Google is going to push a lot of people through to Gemini. So the people in the Gmail environments, the Google Calendar environments, are going to get pushed to Gemini. But look, I mean, the reality of this is start somewhere and grow from there. I know Elsa's got something to say, so I'm going to default to her. But the reality of you always want to start with the market share first, and ChatGPT and Gemini have the market share right now, and then venture from there. Elsa, you got something to say?
Just to answer to Mark, you don't have to choose, Mark. There is a lot of different tools, and a lot of different tools will have different response. And the more you are playing with, the more you will understand which one you need to use in which case. And I will be, I'm already teaching, a lot of AI around me. And I will try to add that in our market center as well. And we'll invite you whenever I'm doing that class. Okay.
And Mark,
Okay, that'd be great.
I'd sing back up on Elsa and tell you that every one of those platforms is a different tool in your toolbox. There's no one tool for everything. And the one thing that I would tell you is, you need to look ahead in the next 12 months, and you need to probably accept the fact that if you're doing AI appropriately, you're probably going to be $1,000 a month on AI. and that needs to be something you budget for. Everybody thinking that they're going to spend $20 on a tool and get the most out of it is helps. That there's so many new products that create leverage, so many new products that'll create lead generation, so many new products that'll do just tons of stuff in your business that you just need to constantly be evaluating. What's another tool I need to put in my bag to make me a more effective professional? But everybody needs to look at their budget and figure out where they could spend $100 more on AI and get a 10x return or a 20x return, or whatever that looks like. And that needs to be the question everybody needs to be asking, because there are so many unbelievable opportunities out there that you just kind of like using something, and then you'll start understanding why something else is better. And then you'll start using that and understanding why something else is different and better for something else. And the good news is while you may feel behind, the whole world's starting out at relatively right now on the same starting line. You might have been at the back of the starting line, but the race has still just started. Just get in it and just start playing around. If you're curious and inquisitive and excited about it, you will continue to find opportunities for it to work with you. If you are overwhelmed by it or you are concerned about it or you're intimidated by it, so stay curious and stay positive and stay excited about it.
For sure.
Awesome.
Ultimately,
Appreciate
I think
it, Sean.
isn't the goal to create awareness around a need that you then solve? So maybe make sure your overlay or your posturing is, how can you create enough evidential information and context that leads to a conversation? And to me, that starts with being the consummate professional and master of your industry, and secondarily, an honest, authentic source for solution finding so that people want to call you to fact check and validate. And he did nail something. They're fighting for your clients now. And if you're not having conversations, don't assume that somebody you were tight with a year ago, you're going to be tight with today. I'm going to guess the $5 million listing, he probably knows a couple of realtors that haven't reached out in a while, that he's trusted and respected at some point. And I say he, it could be a she.
For sure. Frankie, wrap us up.
Just going back to what Mark says, because I think what Mark is saying is there's so many platforms, and to explore all the platform while still making our calls, while still touching our database is very hard. And I know it is because I'm trying to keep up with the AI and still call my database. So I don't know if there's any way that the team or the leadership team can come together and be like, okay, we're going to concentrate on this. Like, for example, we talked about going into Substack, LinkedIn. We talked about, using, Sean actually brought up the other day about using AI to make music. So it's like just so many things that you have to do, and to sit out there and try them all to see what's working is really hard. So it'll just be, I guess, as an agent, what I would love is like to concentrate or be told, hey, focus on this. And then that might be easier, because having all these things to go to, I think it is a lot, I'm just saying.
I think, Frankie, I think that's a very true statement. And some of this has got to be personal engagement, right? Like, you've got to time block when you learn something new. And I also believe each office should have an AI mastermind on their calendar every month. Not a class, a mastermind that says, hey, we're trying to figure this problem out. We're trying to learn this. Let's learn it together. And it should be more of a workshop, a mastermind every single month on the calendar that's AI focused. And any serious agent in real estate would not miss that class or that mastermind. So anyway, we're over time, guys. I want to be respectful of your time. Happy Monday, Mary. We're rooting for you. You're on the top of the leaderboard here for
I know.
March
Can
Madness.
you believe that?
I know. I can't believe it. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
See you guys.
Thank you, Brett.